What is going on, everybody? This is Yes, I Read That, and today I am reviewing The Last Wish by Andrzej Sapkowski. The Last Wish is a fantasy book. It is the introduction of the Witcher character. You might know the Witcher from the video games. I'm actually not into the video games at all. I never really played the Witcher games, but I still wanted to read this book and it was totally worth it. This book is the best sword and sorcery book that I've read in a while. I tremendously enjoyed this book. It is actually a collection of short stories, which kind of put me off at first, but since it was still recommended to read in the Witcher Reader Guide, I decided to read it, and it's actually not that bad. There are only short stories in this book, but all these short stories are interconnected in one storyline. It's all The Witcher. It's just that you don't see what's happening in between these. I want to talk about the story first and then tell you my likes and dislikes and my score for the book. The story, as I said, is about The Witcher. The story mainly encompasses the travels of The Witcher in different short stories. The Witcher is also called Geralt of Rivia. He is a man with white hair and pale skin due to his training as a Witcher, because a Witcher is a person with supernatural abilities. The world this book takes place in is full of monsters and other magical creatures or just weird creatures. The Witchers are people trained and brought up to battle these monsters. So to do that, the witches are exposed to different kinds of magic, to poison, and are basically exposed to mutations to strengthen their resistance against magic. And this training makes them insanely powerful and enables like superhuman abilities. For example, a witcher can see in the dark and just change his eyes to see in the dark. And these witchers are hunting creatures that actively harm the humans in this world, like vampires, drivas, wraiths. There's a lot more than just that. From this premise, I expected a story about a witcher going around towns and hunting monsters, and slaying monsters mainly. But that's totally not the case, and this is what made the book so great. There are some creatures here that look terrible or terrifying, but they're actually nice. And there are some creatures that look nice, but they're actually terrifying. And each of these monsters or creatures have like a unique character, which made them very interesting. And it made it very interesting to read about them. So Geralt of Rivia, instead of just slaying these, sometimes examines what's happening or negotiates. And most of the time, he doesn't even have to slay them. So it was always very interesting to start a new short story and see if there's a monster he has to slay or what the current situation is all about, because often the townfolks themselves wouldn't even know what was going on and just said there is a devil, which is just not something that exists. So yeah, pair this world with an amazing main character, great writing, and you have a very good book. I want to talk a bit more about Geralt of Rivia. As I already said, the main character is great. But he's actually very unique. He is kind of lonely because he is a witcher. The normal people in a town or village don't really like this guy with special abilities who slays monsters. He's kind of creepy, and that's also why he reacts a bit grumpy towards them sometimes. But he just carries out his profession. He's a very professional guy, and he does not care about local politics. He doesn't want to get into any of these quarrels. I think that's a very cool character. But on top of that, he also has his own code of what contracts he takes and what contracts he doesn't want to take, depending on, well, an easy example would be he doesn't want to be a killer for hire. He just wants to hunt monsters that are actually actively harming humans. And even though he is a bit lonely, he does have friends, and towards those friends he seems very loyal. So overall, I really enjoyed this character, and I really enjoyed this book and the stories that are in this book. I'm not going to spoil anything about them, but in my opinion, they are all great. So now I'm going to talk about my likes and dislikes. So what did I like? I was really into this book. I thought this book was awesome, and a few things stood out. The first thing is that the writing is great. This book is actually translated from Polish, but still the English writing is better than some native English books I've read. It's fantastic. As I already said, I think Geralt of Rivia is a great main character, and I really like this idea of the Witcher. And even though it is just a collection of short stories, I still feel like we got to know this character very well, and I really enjoyed it. He's this grim lone wolf, and he's strong and powerful, but also flawed in some aspects, and I thought that was really cool. The next thing I really enjoyed is the world. As I said, there is a great and diverse world. There are tons of creatures, not only bad, but also good creatures or fun creatures or just chaotic creatures, and I really enjoy that. I think that's a great idea, and I feel like every character in this book feels very alive because they all feel deep and have backstories and their own things going on, which makes the whole world feel very vibrant and lively. And the last like I have is pretty much about my expectations. I was expecting a book that is like Witcher hunts monsters and slays monsters, but this book is so much more than that, and I really appreciate it. I really like it. So all in all, I have to say this is a fantastic book, and I liked pretty much everything. That's why when I talk about my dislikes, there is not really anything here. The only thing I would have wished for is that this book would have a continuous story, but there are other books that provide this, and even though these are only short stories, there still was continual storyline through them. So it's not even that bad, but still I feel like a continuous story would be awesome, and that's why I'm pretty sure I'm gonna read the other Witcher books as well. So my final score for this book is a 9 out of 10. As I said, I tremendously enjoyed this book. Fantastic fantasy book with great fighting scenes, but also great characters and a great world. Honestly, I just really enjoyed the book. It's a very light read. I would really recommend this to anybody. I think it's a great book. I really hope you'll check it out because I never really heard about it before. I mean, I heard about it with the video games a bit, but I never really had a recommendation popping up somewhere where it said read the Witcher books. And I know why someone decided to make a video game now, because these books are great and the premise of the story is great. So yeah, if you read the book, let me know what you thought in the comments below. If you liked this video, make sure to drop a like, maybe sub to this channel, and I'll see you in the next review. Till then, bye!